Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session on entrepreneurship and startup building. This is me, Dr. Shahid Imran. So in today's session, we are going to explore the characteristics of successful entrepreneur. We are going to examine the effectual logic against the causal rationality. We are generally confronted with a question that how do managers and entrepreneurs behave differently? What kind of resources they have, and how do they make decisions when they are confronted with ones. So we in this session we are going to demystify the creed entrepreneur. We shall be exploring some of the questions. Say, what are the characteristics, habits, and behaviors of the CPC entrepreneur? So mark these three words. So what are the characteristics, habits, and behaviors of the CPC entrepreneur? And then we are also going to see that if entrepreneurship is just like mythical content, as we see people claiming that leaders are born, or the entrepreneurs are also by birth, or they can be made. So is there any learnable and teachable core to the entrepreneurship? So we are going to explore this core. So what are the common elements that entrepreneurs across a wide variety of industries share with each other? Is there any common denominator? So if there does exist a common denominator that the entrepreneur across a wide variety of industries, across different countries, continents, and culture, if there is one common denominator or there are multiple common denominators, we are going to explore them. So if you simply type in Google the list of global companies, say Fortune 500, Fortune 100, and or Fortune 50, you will come across a list of companies, and they are not from one place. They hail from different cultures, continents, and countries. So the question is, if they do belong to different cultures, continents, and the entrepreneurs who built those companies, they came from different family backgrounds, they had different types of challenges that they faced at their times. So is there anything that is common among all those individuals? So we are going to see this question. So decision making, if we simply see how do the decision making process is generally handled. So decision making in general, causal rationality. So how do we make decisions, especially in the managerial context, when we make decisions, what we have with us? We have some predetermined goals. So the goals are predetermined, and then we are given a set of means. So the end is predetermined, and the means which we are going to use to achieve that particular end is also available. So what we have to do as a manager, you have to get the fastest, the cheapest, and the most efficient. So fastest, cheapest, and the most efficient alternative to get to achieve the goals. So this is what we generally face. So this is, we can say, the process of decision making goes like this. You have goals which are already set. So you know that this is the goal that has to be achieved, and what you have on table, you have a set of means. So you are going to deploy these means to achieve these predetermined goals. So goal is predetermined. The managers have predetermined goals. Managers, they have predetermined goals. So what is their job then? Their job is to get there, get to the destination in a fastest, cheapest, and the most efficient way. So what decisions generally managers are actually making? This particular style of thinking or decision making is based on the cause and effect. This is called causal rationality. So the decisions which managers are generally confronted with, that they are working for a company or in a company, they have to get to develop something, and they can make that inside or they can outsource. So generally called make versus buy decisions. Should they make in-house or should they outsource to a third party who can come and do it for them? So this is one of the decisions that managers usually are confronted with, the make versus buy decision in production. And then they have to choose the target market with the highest potential return in marketing. So when they are making the make versus buy decision, what they are doing, cost of making the product in-house, what we have to see, the production cost, the extra labor cost, the monitoring cost, the storage requirement cost, and the waste product disposal cost. These are all the costs they are calculating. They are analyzing that these are going to be the extra cost if they make something in-house. So when they go for the other option, that is the buy options, instead of developing it in-house, they decide to outsource that particular item. So what they are going to analyze then, outsourcing shall require the product purchase price, sales tax charge, the shipping cost, the inventory and holding cost, and ordering cost. So if you have outsourced a specific item within your production system, it means that you are going to depend on others. So then it will be a decision that you have to make, that how much to order, when to order, how much inventory can you actually hold, and how much taxes you are going to pay if you are having someone else to develop it for you. So this is one decision, make versus buy decision. So when we are deploying the causal rationality, managers decide in this framework that if they are going to buy a product or they are going to outsource this. Then another situation would be choosing the target market with the highest potential return in marketing. So when you have developed a product and you are going for the marketing, so you need to pick up the market that gives you the highest potential return. So what you will do, you are going to make a decision in a way that your investment provides the best dividends. Could be another decision where you are analyzing the risk versus reward. You are picking up a portfolio with lowest risk and maximum reward. So you are not going to take the managers, they usually do not take high risks. Yes, when it comes to receiving the rewards, they are going to have the maximum of reward. So what quadrant they are going to go for? They will go for the maximum reward at the lowest risk. So this is how they operate. And then when they are hiring someone, they are going to hire the best person for the job in human resource departments. So this the right man for the right job. Generally, as a manager, you are confronted with situations like that. You are doing make versus buy. You are analyzing a financial, uh, the financial side of your product by picking up the market that is going to provide you highest returns, and then you are going to pick up a portfolio where the risk is minimized and rewards are maximized. And when you are hiring someone, you are going to get the right man for the right job. So all these decisions that we make, they involve that causal rationality. We have a cause and effect. When we apply the causal rationality, that is typical of managers. When managers work, they deploy causal rationality. Now, departing from the causal rationality and moving to the effectual reasoning, Let's see how do the effectual reasoning is different from the causal rationality. If you can recall, when I was describing the causal rationality, what we had a set of means as well as the predetermined goals. So we were deploying, the managers deploy the given set of means to achieve the predetermined goals. But when we depart from the causal rationality and move into the realm of effectual reasoning, we behave differently. So what we have here, in here we have set of means. Only thing that you have, there is no predetermined goal. What is happening as the time and the imagination of the founders, they are the catalysts, the entrepreneurs who deploy effectual reasoning. They are not prefixed like managers. They have set of means and they use the time in which they live and their own imagination and their diverse interaction with different stakeholders. The goals keep evolving. So what they are looking for, they are not presetting the goals. So one of the characteristics of the effectual reasoning, or one of the way we can describe this departure from the causal rationality to the effectual reasoning, is that no goals are preset. So what's happening with the goals? Goals are evolved over time. So if I want to give you an example, for example, you must have heard the name of Genghis Khan. Genghis, or more commonly known as Genghis Khan, he was a causal thinker. Why he was a causal thinker? Genghis Khan was a causal thinker because he was seeking to conquer the fertile land. So what he had on his disposal, he had the largest army of the time. So what was his goal? His goal was preset. He wanted to conquer the fertile land by using the means, the largest army in the world at that time. So he was of a manager creed. But if you compare him with Columbus, who was an effectual thinker, he set out the voyages into the uncharted waters, ending up finding the new world. So he did not leave his place to discover the new world. What he was trying to discover, he was trying to discover the vastness of the sea. He went into the uncharted waters and he managed to discover the new world. So this is how the effectual reasoning departs from the causal thinking or causal rationality. Managers are causal thinkers. Please remember, they have set of means plus predetermined goals. They deploy those means to achieve those preset goals. Whereas the effectual thinkers, they behave differently. They only have a set of means at their disposal and they use time, their own imagination, and the diverse interaction with multiple individuals and organizations to develop what exactly they end up at the end of their journey. So this is how effectual thinking is different from the causal rationality. So these are this is another way actually where we can compare the different reasoning modes. We have got the means M1, M2, M3, and then the goals. We use these means to achieve these goals. So selecting between the means to achieve the predetermined goals. And then the new means are generated to achieve the predetermined goals. And the third situation, the third mode is that goals given goals, but imagined ends. So these are the three different ways in which we can compare the reasoning modes. So causal reasoning, if we have to compare the causal reasoning and effectual reasoning, we can simply state that creative thinking in causal reasoning, maybe yes or maybe no. Effectual reasoning. So if we talk from the creativity perspective, causal thinking can be creative, maybe it is not creative. Whereas if you are an effectual thinker, you have got to be inherently creative. And then the contrast between the two types of reasoning, we can simply compare them to a simple task. Say causal reasoning versus factual reasoning. Imagine that you have the two cooks. One of them is a recipe cook. The recipe is set up, ingredients are listed, and the proportion in which the ingredients will be mixed, that is also prefixed. Every time he creates the dish, the same dish is created. So a chef who is given a specific menu has only to pick out his or her favorite recipes for the items on the menu. So you click the item on the menu, he goes back and pick up the elements that he is going to mix to prepare the dish. He is going to shop for the ingredients and cook the meal in their own very well equipped kitchens. So, this is what happens in causal rationality. He knows the dish, which is the end goal, and he has the means, all the ingredients. Whereas there is another possibility. We could have a chef that does not have any recipe, a chef who is not given a menu in advance and is escorted to a strange kitchen where he or she has to explore the cupboards for unspecified ingredients and cook a meal with them. So he does not have the recipe ready or the ready-made recipe. What he has, only ingredients. By looking at those ingredients, he creates a dish that can satisfy the appetite. So this is another way we can differentiate between the causal reasoning and the effectual reasoning. Managers are recipe cooks. Entrepreneurs, they are non-recipe cooks. Then there's another way we can understand this effectual process. So we have what we have actually. We have means. When we talk about means, it means who you are, whom you know, and what do you know. So this is the basic thing that you have at your disposal. And then we have the goals. What can I do? And your interaction, who do I know? So the interaction between who, what do you know, and what can you do, it will keep iterating with each other. And then there are multiple stakeholders. You have made some commitments here. And as you are solving a problem, new means are generating, new goals are being generated. So it's not the make versus buy decision only that you are prefixed that you are going to make or buy. There is no third decision. In the effectual process, which the entrepreneurs usually deploy, they have an expanding cycle of resources. When they are solving the problem, it's not that the means are fixed. Yes, they start with these three fundamental means that who I am, what I know, and whom I know. But as they progress, because they are trying to solve a problem, they are not prefixed with a product. The product comes at very late stage because product is not the end goal. Product itself becomes the mean to solve the problem. So when you are solving one problem, when you're developing one product, and then you are the product itself is evolving through this diverse interaction, new goals could be generated, and it can cause actually changes in the means, changes in the constraint, and this is this expanding cycle of resources, and then the converging cycle of constraints. You have the constraint, you are sometimes you have the financial constraint, sometimes you have the technological constraints, sometimes you have the environmental constraints. So you have to optimize the interaction between the expanding cycle of resources and converging cycle of constraints. So this, through these very diverse and complex interactions, new firms, products, or markets will be generated. Sometimes when you are trying to solve a problem, you develop a product for one customer segment, but that does not go along. But through this process, you discover another customer segment, and the product become a company itself. So this is another way we can understand this. So what we are trying to do, identify the expertise network, what I can do. Then there are some surprises, the competing resources and changes in the goals. So here we have the resources and goals. What can I do? Call on the people I know and the engagement of the stakeholders. So interactions and engagement. So we have 4 items here. We have resources, goals, interaction, and engagement. So resources here, then goals, then interactions, then engagement. When you are engaging different stakeholders, you develop new resources, and you also develop new goals. So goals are evolving, resources are evolving. So this is a complex and fluid process. It's a transient and dynamic process when we are talking about the effectual thinking. The new resources supplement the present resources, because when you start the journey, you may be alone, but as you go along, things changes. New resources are added into your basket, and that actually empowers you more. You develop new products, new markets, and new business. So this is what we have already discussed. So if we talk about the causal rationality versus the effectual rationality, there's another example actually which we can think of. The example through a restaurant startup. So if you are going to set up a restaurant, here is an example. What you have to do. Now, we will divide this into 2. So we will put the causal rationality here and effectual thinking over there. So if you are thinking like a manager, so what you will do, first thing first, you will start with the market research into the restaurant industry in the city of your choice. You have chosen a country or city, and then you have gone into the market research. That is the first item which you will do on this side of the spectrum. Then you will select a location very carefully based upon the market research. Whatever is the outcome of this market research, that will be fed into the decision-making process, and you will come across a convenient location. Then segment the market in a meaningful way. You will see that what segment in the market you are going to serve. Select the target segments based on the estimated potential return. You will make estimates of the returns on your investments, and you will go and select the target segments based on these estimates. You will design a restaurant to appeal to the target segment that you have selected. So you have selected a target segment. The design of the restaurant should appeal that particular segment. You will be required to raise funds, bring your team together, and implement the market strategies and manage the daily operations to make the restaurant a high success. Now, what has happened? Look, we need to analyze this whole process. This process is all causal. We have worked in a cause and effect way. You always start with market research. The result of the market research actually feed your decision making process. In this particular example, you have done the market research into the restaurant industry in the city of your choice. This gives you the convenient location, and then you selected the market segment that you want to serve. Once the segment is selected, you went for the design that is going to appeal your target segments. You are going to raise funds, and you will bring your team together, implement the already well-known marketing strategies, and you are going to manage the daily operation. This is typically causal thinking. What happens in the other side? On the other side, the effectual thinker, that depends on who our entrepreneur is, what he or she knows, whom he or she knows. So let's say she is a good Pakistani chef who is considering starting an independent business. So what is the constraint? The constraint is little money she has. What are some of the ways he or she can start the business? So this is the question. She can partner with an existing restaurant. If you know something, if you know who you are, if you have some expertise, see where that expertise can be deployed as a business. You can partner with an existing restaurant. You can participate in the ethnic food affairs. There are different food contests and exhibitions. You can cook the dishes. You can bring the dishes there, and you can introduce yourself to the people who are into this business. So you can, if you have little resources, you can set up a catering service instead of going for a full-fledged restaurant. And what you can do, you can start with asking your friends to persuade their colleagues or your colleagues to accept the sample lunch boxes. So these are the things, you see, there is no market research actually that has gone into it. What we have done here, the most important thing is who you are and whom you know. You are a chef that has some specialty dishes on your credit. You need to find the people who can benefit from your expertise, from your skills, and both parties can benefit in a mutual way. This is typically effectual thinking. So in causal rationality, we see that decision making is different. And in effectual thinking, it is different altogether. So if we have to put it in a funnel, this is how it goes. This is causal rationality. We always start with market definition. Market definition, then we targeting based on the evaluation criteria such as expected revenue, what you are expecting as a revenue. So that is what we are going to target. Then positioning, we will position the company through the well-established marketing strategies in order to reach our customers. So market definition is the prime thing. Then comes the targeting, then comes the position. This is how managers behave. This is how causal thinkers behave. Entrepreneurs, they don't behave this way. They behave differently. What they start with, you see, there is no customer actually here. They start with the customer identification process. And what do they use in order to identify the customers? The questions: who am I? What do I know? Who I know? Whom you know? What do you know? And who you are? These are the three basic questions that you have to ask when you started identifying the customer. When the customer is identified, Then you need to build partnerships. If you can recall back the examples I have given over there, it was if you are a chef, you want to make a business, you don't have much money, what you can do is you can partner with the existing restaurants. You can add one dish, two dish, or three dishes that you can do. Or you are a technical guy, you are an engineer, for example, who knows a lot, who have some expertise on your hand. You can go to the industry, you can set up a consultancy services, you can offer your services that you can solve the problems as someone who is not regular part of their organizational framework but can help them. So first of all, who am I? What do I know? And then whom I know or who I know. Then comes the customer definition, and we will build partnerships. And then the segments and strategies. And at the end, we define one of the possible markets. You see, market is the last, defining market is the last step entrepreneurs usually take. There is a hell of job before making this decision. On the other side, managers start with defining, with the definition of the market. So we can say that the two models, when we compare them, the funnel is totally inverted in this particular comparison. When we talk about the effectual reasoning, there are three principles that we need to take care of. Number one, when we talk about the expected return, that what will I get out of it, that is typically causal reasoning. The effectual thinkers or the entrepreneurs, instead of going for the expected return, they think of the affordable loss. So what exactly they can afford to lose, what little they have, how much they can lose. So this is the difference. These three are the foundational differences between the causal thinking and the effectual thinking. Managers, they base their decisions or their initiatives on the expected return. What will I get out of this transaction? Whereas an entrepreneur, you will think, what can I afford to lose? Then is the competitive analysis versus strategic partnerships. Managers see who are the competitors, who are my competitors in the market, whereas entrepreneurs see whom can I partner with, who can be my partners. The effectual reasoning is again different from the causal reasoning. So number one, entrepreneurs, they are not focused on expected returns unlike managers. They're not focused on the competitive analysis. You want to build something and you have other people who are doing the same business. Instead of doing or going into the competition, if you can build a partnership, that is going to be worth doing. Then is the exploitation of the pre-existing knowledge and prediction. This is what the managers do. Whereas leveraging of the contingencies, the uncertainty that comes in the way when a product is being developed or when a problem is being solved or when a solution is being developed, there will be uncertainties. There will be situations that we usually do not expect. Managers, they may fail when they are onto an uncharted territory. If they have to lead people in a place where they have not gone before by themselves, they will be in trouble. Whereas the entrepreneurs, they deploy this leveraging of contingencies. This will help them that how can they turn the odd situation into their favor. So this is again another difference between the managerial thinking, which is a causal thinking, and the effectual reasoning, which usually the entrepreneurs deploy. So now we will pick up these three: affordable loss, strategic partnership, and the leveraging of contingencies. These are the three principles that entrepreneurs usually deploy. When we talk about the affordable loss principle, what managers they analyze the market, choose the target segment. So analysis of the market, choose the target segment with the highest potential return. So that is what they are doing. And what entrepreneurs do, they behave differently. They find ways to reach the market with minimum expenditure of resources, because usually they do not have infinite resources at their disposal. So what they have to be, they have to be mean in terms of time, effort, and money. They have to save time, they have to save effort, and they have to save the money. So what they will do, they will deploy the principle of affordable loss. They have to optimize the resources, little resources which they have at their disposal, to take their product to the nearest possible potential customer even before it was built. So it's not actually the product unless someone has used the product. How do you read the customer mind? How do you actually understand the needs of the customer? So there is no way that you should be falling in love with the product that you are developing. So as the time goes by, we will see a term called MVP, a minimum viable product. So the entrepreneurs, they do believe in developing MVPs, and by using this minimum viable product, they will seek the customer's feedback and then improve their product in this process. So the zero loss principle, or zero resources to market the, this is the what we call the affordable loss principle. Managers, they will analyze the market. They'll choose the target segments which will provide them the highest return, whereas entrepreneurs don't do that. What they do, they find ways to reach the market with minimum expenditure of resources. They try to save time, effort, and money to reach the nearest possible potential customer. And sometimes they have the customer even before the product is built. This principle is also called zero loss principle or zero resources to marketing principle. So what they do when they have to deploy the affordable loss principle, they will find the first customer within their immediate vicinity. When we talk about the immediate vicinity, we mean geographic vicinity, people within their social network, or people who are in the area of their professional expertise. You can talk to people. For example, if you are an engineer, you are an expert on a software which can model the engineering problems, and especially in an era where everything is going virtual and computer models are being deployed instead of building the real life prototypes, you can see who do you know who can help you get your product to a potential customer. The product may not be perfect, but it is the customer feedback, not the designer's thinking, that will make the product perfect. So what they do not tie up any theorized or preconceived market or strategic universe of their idea. So they have no, they're not actually tied up that what exactly is the product shape and what market they are going to try. They open themselves to surprises, to which market or markets they will eventually end up building their business, and or even new markets will end up creating. So they are focused on a problem. To solve that problem, they are developing something, then, but they are not fixed. The fixation is more dominant on the managerial thinking rather than the entrepreneurial thinking. Entrepreneurs, they are open. If something does not work, they will simply pivot, they will change their idea, bring new idea, they will transform their idea. So they will keep evolving till such time that they have found the product that solves a specific customer segment's problem. So they can, starting with exactly the same product, the entrepreneurs may end up creating the companies in completely disparate industries. So you start solving something, but that does not work. But during the process of solving the problem, you discover new problem that is more genuine than the problem you initially started with. So this is critical. This is what managers typically lack. Whereas this flexibility on the part of entrepreneurial thinking that provides entrepreneurs this advantage. The second principle is the strategic partnership principle. We have already seen that they try not to compete, they try to build partnerships. So what managers do, managers, they do a systematic competitive analysis. This is managerial thinking, not good for the entrepreneurs. Whereas entrepreneurs, they build up partnerships. So if we talk about what is an ideal beginning for a successful startup, that is the induction of the customers into strategic partnership. Make your customers your partners. The dovetail relationship between the strategic partnership principle and the affordable loss principle, this will bring entrepreneurs' idea into the market at really low levels of capital outlay. So this is something, the dovetail relationship between whom? Between the two principles. The principle we have already explored, that was affordable loss principle. So you are not committing too much of the resources in terms of time, effort, and money. You have found the customer. Customer becomes your partners. They are willing to purchase your solution and then provide you the feedback that is very helpful in terms of improving the solution or improving the product. This is an ideal situation. Then what you have, obtaining pre-commitments from the key stakeholders. This will help reduce the uncertainty in the early stages of creating an enterprise. If you are looking to create an enterprise, these pre-commitments, you can find some venture capitals for some of your families, your friends. They are believers in your belief, and they can provide you something, some money, some effort, some input, some advice, some mentorship. These are all the resources that you may have in the beginning. This will also help to reduce the uncertainty. And then the entrepreneurs, they are not wedded to any particular market for their idea. Unlike managerial thinking, which starts with the market analysis. When you do the market analysis, this may be good for a regular product. But if you are developing a new product line or you are developing a new product, so then you can have a specific, market to product fit situation. Sometimes you have an existing market and you are trying to build up an existing product. Another time you have an existing market and you are bringing a new product. Another time the product is existing, market is new, and the most lethal quadrant is new product and new market. So this is something we need to see, that the entrepreneurs, they are not wedded to any particular market. What they are doing, they are continuously evolving, but they're using their time, their imagination, and the resources at their disposal. The goals may keep evolving, the resources, they may be adding up, but they are not tied up to a market. So if the market does not, if the product they have developed does not work, they are flexible either to change the product or the market. So the third principle is the leveraging the contingencies principle. So if you are, this is the heart of entrepreneurial expertise, the ability of an entrepreneur to turn the unexpected into the profitable. So what happens in managerial thinking when we are doing the risk analysis? Risk analysis is done or performed in order to manage the uncertainties, because those unlikely events which can harm the achievement of the objectives listed, the uncertainty is no good. Managers who have the preset goals and preset means, they usually are troubled when there is an uncertain happening. Whereas entrepreneurs, the great enterprises or entrepreneurial firms, they are products of contingencies. What we have to see, we have to see the structure, culture, core competence, and endurance. They are the residuals of particular human beings striving to forge and fulfill the particular aspirations through what they are interacting with space, time, and technologies they live in. Whatever the era we live in, we need to see the space, time, and the technology available. We need to use these items. We need to create an optimized mix of space, time, and technologies to solve the problems society at those times they are facing. So effectual reasoning, the logic. To the extent we can predict the future, we can control it. This is how managers behave. If you can predict something, you can control it. Whereas the effectual reasoning is different. To the extent we can control the future, we do not need to predict it. This is effectual thinking. How does one control an unpredictable future? The answer to this question depends on your beliefs. Where does the future come from? Is the future largely a continuation of the past? Or to what extent can human action actually change the course? If you can answer these questions, we can control the inherent unpredictability in the future. So if we are going to model the uncertainties, here we go. So maybe I'm going to give you an example. So you imagine that you have a box that contains balls of different colors, and there is a price tag on it. When you draw a red ball, you win $50, and you draw 10 balls. The first 10 draws brings 5 red and 5 green balls. How can we model the future draws? So for every 10 draws, you have 5 red, 5 green. It means that you can predict that 50% of the balls within the box, they are red. So a risky but unpredictable model. A probability of 50% that a particular draw shall have a red ball. For a given number of balls, we can calculate the money that we have earned. For example, if you have drawn 100 balls, 50 balls will be red, and 50 times 50, you will be able to earn $2,500. This is managerial thinking. This is all causal reasoning, that based on the little experience that we have predicted the future. This is how managers usually manage the uncertainties. How do the entrepreneurs manage the uncertainties? The future is not out there to be discovered, but that it is there to be created through the very strategies of the players. What you need to do is, regardless of the initial distribution of the balls in the box, you need to continue to acquire the red balls and put them back into the box. You need to look for other people who own the red balls and induce them to become your partners and put the red balls back into the box. By putting the red box in the ball, red balls in the box, and by developing partnerships with those who own the red balls shall increase the chances of getting the red ball. As the time goes by, there will be so many red balls in the box that almost every draw will obtain a red ball. On the other hand, if you and your your acquaintances, they have only green ball. For example, when you are in a situation that you're not drawing the red ball, everyone, you and your network, they are getting the green balls. You can simply change the rule that drawing a red ball is not the win. It is the drawing of green ball that creates a win. So this is how entrepreneurial pursuits they proceed. When they have built strategic partnerships, they can even change the rules of the game. So this is, I was referring that if you are bringing a product, there is a term called product market fit. So we have new products, we have existing products, existing markets, new markets. Here you go. This quadrant is a suicide quadrant where there is no market and there is no product. So this is where entrepreneurs, they thrive. Managers will struggle in living here, but entrepreneurs, they can. Effectual logic is people dependent, whereas the causal logic is effect dependent. What is the effect? If you focus on that, you are a manager, you are a causal thinker. But if you are people dependent, you know some people, you know yourself first, you know yourself, you know other people facing the problem or solving the problem, and you build partnerships with them, you become an effectual thinker. So effectual reasoning, you can deploy the effectual reasoning and you can build teams. Right people are not on the job market waiting for the jobs and incentives. Instead, the right people need emotional ownership in the goals and the objectives of the endeavor. So this is all for today. Thank you so very much for listening to this content. I hope it made some sense if you are trying to differentiate between managerial thinking and an entrepreneurial thinking. Thank you.